Welcome back to the entertainment room. As we get closer to one of my favorite times of the year, Halloween, I fear it's about time to discuss a film that is now becoming a trilogy. 'Twas becoming a very iconic figure in the genre. Art the Clown has made appearances in the short films Terrifier and The Ninth Circle. Plus, he has also appeared in the anthology horror film All Hallows Eve, which is a film that I hope to review some other time this month. And he is now in his own trilogy. I have seen Terrifier and Terrifier 2, and I am so excited to see Terrifier 3 sometime this next year, I believe is being released. The success of Terrifier is kind of up for discussion as far as how good it is, but for me, Art the Clown honestly scares the shit out of me as a character, especially with this new actor taking over for this new trilogy. But do I think that Art the Clown and the Terrifier films will hold up? Let's discuss. "2016's Terrifier" is directed by Damien Leone. As I said, I believe this is the fourth appearance of Art the Clown, after the two short films and the anthology horror film. The main difference this time being that David Howard Thornton has taken over as the Art the Clown character, and he has replaced Mike Giannelli, who I think did a great job in All Hallows Eve, as well as the others. But David Howard Thornton definitely brings a fresh perspective to the role. In a genre where the clown theme is becoming a bit oversaturated, I did feel right away that the Art character was bringing a fresh sense of unease to the table. And David Howard Thornton really did handle this role beautifully as he took it over and took it very seriously. Thornton also, interestingly, has miming experience, which definitely assisted him greatly in crafting this silent psychopath's personality. I'm sure many people are quick to compare him with other horrifying clown characters. The creators of this figure did their best to set him apart, or to try and set him apart from others with little things such as, again, making him silent, the black and white costume, no hair, all things to try and set him apart from other clowns we've seen in horror films or horror comedies and the likes. And I think it was a pretty effective effort. I think Art does stand on his own, and I did enjoy this film as a whole. And I'm excited to also get my review out for the sequel. And again, this appears to be a trilogy in the future. I believe around this time in 2024 is when Terrifier 3 is supposed to come out. So to start the review, Terrifier follows Tara and Dawn as they leave a Halloween party. Both pretty intoxicated, and they both decide not to drive yet and to get something to eat at a pizza parlor. During their discussion, their conversation, Art spots them and is instantly intrigued, and then our night of terror begins. In the first bit of this film, I feel the dark Halloween spirit, as well as the nostalgia of earlier slasher films. The setup isn't even super Halloween heavy in its feel, in its tone, but I still got that sense anyway, because it literally only has a talk about a Halloween party, and then Leone added in some CGI pumpkins in the pizza parlor. Towards the end, they just kind of threw in their last minute to give off that feel a bit more. But for me, the vibe was there, with or without these tactics. I won't run through the whole movie, but I will get into some spoilers, so honestly, if this intrigues you at all, definitely step away from this review and check it out. I do highly recommend it. The series has disappointed people for different reasons. I think mostly due to its budget, its over-the-top nature, and more than anything, probably its acting, which is valid, I will say. I feel it's hard to not give a new slasher a chance if you are into that subgenre of horror. Not everyone is on board with Art for different reasons, but I think that most people will be pleased if they have not seen this film or seen any of his others. And right away in the pizza parlor, when Tara and Dawn notice Art right away, you get a good feel for this character, for sure. His different little mannerisms, the prolonged staring, the comedic facial expressions, the random tools he carries in a trash bag all the time. He also kind of has these childlike mood switches as well sometimes, going from smiling really big to pouting, for instance, especially when he's not given the attention that he wants from them. Effectively creeped out, or Tara is at least cognizant of the clown's off-putting nature. They finish and go back to their car to find all 4 tires slashed. Tara calls her sister Vicky and asks her to come pick them up. And then while waiting, Tara decides she needs to go to the bathroom. So the nearest building being a super old apartment building that looks like a mass murderer's playground, dungeon, torture chamber, any of the above. And then this becomes our main location for the rest of the film. To start with our characters, they're okay overall. Tara, played by Jenna Cannell, gives the most competent performance, I would say. The actresses playing Dawn and Vicky are decent as well, but no one is super memorable here besides Art the Clown himself, which was definitely the main focus here anyway. Cannell is also known for doing her own stunts, oftentimes in her roles, so I do always like to give props when I have this knowledge of that. I think it's always cool when actors do their own stunts. There's no deep characteristics or background of any of them, but I don't feel like much was really needed for the purpose of this film. This is definitely a low-budget film, estimated at $35,000. But for what they did with the project, particularly the gruesome practical effects, I think they did a great job utilizing that budget. To also speak more on the kills, most are not super over the top like its sequel, but they are still graphic. And it adds to the tension, really, to see how Art takes his time with each kill as well. There's rarely a quick death when he gets his hands on somebody. Dawn's death in particular became a running joke and meme basically with how outlandish it was. And if you know, you know. If you've seen it. If you've seen both Terrifier films now, you know that they're both bloody, as is. But they have that one standout scene so far that is just bizarre and wild with how gory its effects are. And on a side note, over-the-top gore is kind of iffy for me. I'm not grossed out by it, and if done properly, gore can help the kills feel more real, thus darkening the mood and the realism further. But at a certain point, it just starts to feel more so indulgent in a weird and honestly unhealthy way. I can watch it, no problem, but as far as me justifying its purpose, it can lose points for me. I think this standout kill in this film, with Dawn's death, kind of works for the most part. So you can now see how Art proves himself to be more than your typical stabby killer. Because he has now opened the door to more sick and unpredictable possibilities for if he gets his hands on our characters. And as far as that one kill in the sequel, well, I'll touch on that in that review for that film. My favorite part of this film, though, is Art's stalking ability and how quietly he maneuvers this building or whatever setting he is in. Oftentimes a character will just be walking around trying to stay quiet and see if they can spot Art so they can plan their escape, but then suddenly he's right behind them. There were several moments like that in this film. And a couple maybe felt a little cheap, like kind of just cheap jump scare moments, but they did often come at times I didn't expect. One negative I will go into is, like most horror films, characters do not always make the most intelligent decisions. That's kind of to be expected by this point, so I won't harp on it too much. But you know, turning back when they shouldn't, leaving doors unlocked, being overly loud when they really shouldn't be, and especially not double tapping your fucking opponent. The blows our characters deliver to Art sometimes are clearly not going to be kill shots, but they just let the situation go anyway and walk away. I understand some dumb decisions are vital to have a longer movie, but when it happens over and over again, or when a decision is unrealistically dumb, that's just bad writing, and there are other ways that you can write around these scenarios. I said this before, I believe, but trauma and intense fear can cloud our decision making. But even still, some moments are hard to really buy into. Back to a positive note though, Thornton is a standout for sure as Art the Clown. Him taking over was a huge plus, I would say. Gianelli was fantastic, but I do like Thornton more, personally. He's just absolutely unnerving. He doesn't need words or even quippy one-liners to taunt his victims. One of the shots that constantly lives rent-free in my mind when I think about this film is when Tara first sees Art in the apartment building that she goes into. And Art is just standing statue still with his hands up
a scalpel in one hand, and they just hold the staring contest almost for several seconds. It's just a brilliant moment and a brilliant opener to this now cat and mouse game that they're about to play. The tone also rides a line between straight and serious horror and dark comedy a little, and I think it handles those switches pretty well for the most part. It's mostly Art's mannerisms and stunts that can be funny, kind of in an odd way. One of the memorable comedic moments is when Art is fighting Tara, I think, and they're kind of in this battle, this back and forth, and Art just randomly pulls out a gun and shoots her. Is that not all what I expected from this character? Now, of course, it's not funny that one of our leads is now injured or killed. It's just the suddenness of the act, almost cartoon-like with its absurdity. I just wouldn't have expected Art the Clown to pull a gun of all things, so it's just kind of funny when it happened. It kind of felt reminiscent of Indiana Jones in Raiders of the Lost Ark, where he's about to supposedly get in this epic fight or this epic battle with somebody, but instead just pulls out a handgun and just finishes him off right away. But anyway, the ending was okay, I think. Definitely set up the sequel really well. With a scene in the beginning with a talk show host murder, I kind of saw the twist coming with either Vicky or Tara being the disfigured woman from the beginning, based on the hair and the general appearance. But the makeup work on Vicky's face is incredibly impressive, and it unsettles me every time I see it. It's just a brutal turning point in this character's life. I'm not sure if Art was already supernatural, or if he's like a supernatural force before he shoots himself in the apartment building, or if he's reborn or possessed by something after the fact. But I loved his final scene in the morgue after he is left alone with the coroner. It definitely built some excitement for me, all at the time I was still waiting for the sequel to come. So ultimately, aside from some cheap jump scares and poor character decision making, this is an effectively suspenseful film with a lot of charm to it, despite its low budget and its iffy acting. I think it earns its place in this horror subgenre. It's pretty gory, so if that's not your thing, this may be kind of off-putting, and definitely don't watch the second film if you thought this one was too much. But there's definitely a lot worse out there. This is a film I can see myself revisiting every year or every other year or so, especially around September, October, that time of year. I am overall a fan, but I think I'll give this a 7 out of 10. What do you guys think about Terrifier and the series so far, the short films, All Hallows Eve? What's your opinion on that? Particularly about Art the Clown himself. Do you think he has earned his place with the other slasher icons? But thanks so much again, guys, for joining me on the Entertainment Room. I hope you all have